Impetus, episode 123. A promo package kicks off tonight. Before the Impetus stars do battle in the depths of hell, Impetus must do a deal with the devil himself, as the show will host 3 six-way tag team matches. 6 stars will compete as Triple J team up with the solo El Fuego member Hernando Lystio against their bitter enemies of Matar Ilamas and Jillian Day, with Jillian Day returning for action for the first time in exactly 1 year. 6 stars will fight as the Killers of the Revolution will take on those who they laid to waste last week: Terri Delighta, Johnny Fabuloso, and Riki Mathews. 6 stars will have a tough time teaming as the Condemnation compete together against Immunity. Can Immunity be a unity one last time before they meet at a night in hell? The 3 sixes then appear on the screen, claiming that tonight is all about sin, all about the taboo, all about demons. The scene then ends with Greg Williams slapping Skar last week. With Greg smirking and Skar shaking with rage, is Greg faking his confidence as we head into the traditional press conference? Or is he genuinely not afraid of the chaotic creature? After an intro to the show, Impetus presents tonight's special episode, The Number of the Beast. Before the World Impetus Championship press conference between Greg Williams and Skar, we have 3, count 'em, 3 six-way tag team matches. Tonight, Killers of the Revolution take on Riki Mathews, Terri Delighta, and Johnny Fabuloso. Will KOTR continue to rise up the ranks? Also, another 6-way tag team match sees Immunity take on the Condemnation. Both trios desperately need to have a sense of togetherness. However, only one team can win. But kicking off tonight's events is up next. 6-way tag team action. Matar Ilamas versus Triple J and Hernando Lystio. As stated, that match starts right now. Enter Matar Ilamas. Jillian enters in her gear for the first time in a year. Upon further inspection, the commentators notice that she is wearing her original Triple J gear, seemingly to spite her former boys. With her tag champs following, she and her team are confident as all hell. Enter Triple J. Jack and Jimmy are pumped up, only to look at Jillian and her familiar attire. They are a little taken back by what they see, almost impressed by her spitefulness. Enter Hernando Lystio. Lystio enters alone, just like he did last week and just like he will next week by himself. A Night in Hell is then promoted. A 2-on-1 handicap match for the tag team titles is promoted. Hernando Lystio will take on Matar Ilamas next week at the pay-per-view by himself. Match 1. The 6-way tag team match. Matar Ilamas versus Triple J and Hernando Lystio. The high-flying affair finally leads to a tag to Jillian. The female participant attempts to try some lucha libre action on Jack, and she succeeds with a satellite DDT. Flaunting her one cool move that she did, she gets carried away with the boasting, allowing Jack to tag in Lystio. With Jillian continuing her bragging, Matthias and Mateo point behind her, warning their manager of the luchador that stands behind her. Jillian's smile turns upside down as she is now fearing for her life, only to poke Lystio in the eye and tag in her team. Matar Ilamas take control from here, forbidding Triple J of an interference and preventing Lystio from a comeback, no matter how hard he tries. Chucking Triple J to the outside, Matar Ilamas hit the Bomberos on Lystio and win. Winners, Matar Ilamas. Jillian raises her team's gold as Matthias and Matteo taunt their fallen opponents, especially Lystio, who shows signs of doubt heading into next week. Impetus then cuts to a replay shown earlier in the night before the episode began. It takes place in the hallway/parking lot area. KOTR are seen recently arriving to the arena. Walking through the parking lot, CJ hypes his team up for the 6-way tag team action tonight, only for Steven to interrupt. He's forgotten something in his car and quickly walks back to retrieve it. With the camera following, Steven eventually grabs his jacket from the vehicle, only to walk on and get approached once again by Johnny Fabuloso. Johnny is saddened and a little offended from what happened last week. Not only did he apologize for what happened to Steven's privates, but Steven would then go on to attack his good friend Terri. Steven tries to act tough. He shrugs his shoulders and claims that he had to do what he had to do. He explains that he may have appreciated Johnny's apology from last week, but he never accepted it. With Johnny offended, he scoffs and begins to walk off, offended, only for Steven to pull him back. Steven sighs and gives in a little. He wants Johnny to know that he had the opportunity to get physical with him last week, and he didn't. Steven reminds Johnny of CJ's stubbornness and how he can't just let things go that easily. But Steven can. Steven accepts Johnny's apology. Johnny appreciates Steven's words and smiles a little. Brushing his hair back, he tells Steven that he can't wait for the future. Why? Because Steven may find himself getting physical with Johnny after all. Johnny leaves with Steven pondering the Fabulous One's statement. The situation between Johnny Fabuloso and Steven Dreadful is going to make its way in to a 6-way tag team match tonight. The Killers of the Revolution take on Riki Mathews, Terri Delighta, and Johnny Fabuloso. Will Steven and Johnny get physical? Also, another 6-way tag team contest is set between Immunity and the Condemnation. Both trios desperately need a sense of togetherness. However, one team can win. Enter Warren Jaxon. With a title defense against Dylan Dark just 7 days away, Warren enters ready to show exactly what he's capable of. At a night in hell, the Coast to Coast title is on the line as Warren Jaxon defends the title against Dylan Dark. Win or lose tonight, Warren Jaxon will announce that match's stipulation. Enter Blake with Corey. The more aggressive member of Empire steps up to face Warren yet again. Can he continue his aggressive momentum against his former extraordinary ally? Match 2. Warren Jaxon versus Blake with Corey. Corey plays the classical role of a manager by continuously getting involved in small ways, all with the official suspicious of his dirty play. With Warren eventually baseball sliding Corey out of the contest, it seems as though Warren is left alone to face Blake, just like it should have been. Jaxon eventually battles back and hits the overdrive and pins, only for Corey to try and climb in the ring, causing the official to stop the count and escort the Empire member out. With Warren realizing what's happened, Corey continues to annoy the official, only to be ejected from ringside. With Corey kicking up a fuss, he gets forced up the ramp by the appearing Essentials. Josh Alba and Freddie Cornell throw Corey up the ramp, allowing Warren to counter the oncoming Blake attack and tap him out with the Indian Deathlock. Winner, Warren Jaxon. After kicking Blake out of the ring and thanking the Essentials for their input, Aaron Cutler exits the commentary desk and approaches the ring, asking Warren for the match stipulation. Warren has said it 100 times and he'll say it again. The Coast to Coast title means the world to him. Not only has he been the Coast to Coast champion for quite some time now, but he's been fighting for it for even longer. For an even longer time, it seemed as though Warren would never get back the title, And after so long, he is proud to be standing out here, still champion. It seems as though his gold revolves around time, as his number one contender was decided by a beat the clock challenge, and even had a countdown timer for the turmoil match itself. It's ironic because all Warren has got is time. He's got another 6-7 months until he becomes the longest reigning champion in Impetus history, and no amount of time or opponent can stop him from achieving that goal. Seeing as time is of the essence, Warren has made his mind up. He knows what the match is going to be. He knows what match type he wants to face Dylan Darkin next week at A Night in Hell. A match where, just like the Beat the Clock challenges, time can be your biggest ally or your biggest enemy. Next week, the two will compete in a 30-minute Iron Man match. The reason why he's chosen this match is simple. His children. He ain't no father himself, but if he was, he knows his unborn children would be ashamed, embarrassed, and disappointed if he was anything like Dylan. I mean, the cheap, dirty tactics, the constant reliance on one's proteges, as opposed to being the badass he used to be, it's pathetic. Kinda reminds him of Dave Falcon. This Iron Man match is designed to show endurance, tenacity, and to provide inspiration to those who watch, to let the viewers and perhaps children of tomorrow realize that wrestling is more than just battering someone's heads in, but about stamina and discipline. This is a match where boys become men, or where men become boys. Warren will win, there's no doubt about that, but hopefully Dylan can show his proteges how to fight, and more importantly, how to handle a loss like a true man. Warren exits with his gold proudly over his shoulder, ready for the endurance test he has created for himself. As the champion leaves, Aaron announces it. An Iron Man match will take place with the Coast to Coast title on the line at A Night in Hell. Impetus then heads in to a commercial break. Impetus returns with an advertisement for the pay-per-view itself. At A Night in Hell, it is official. It is an Iron Man match that will host Warren Jaxon and Dylan Dark for the Coast to Coast Championship. Also, Riki Mathews and Gary Federline will compete in the first ever match of its kind, a number one contendership Capture the Flag ladder match. Will Riki get revenge with injured ribs? Riki Mathews is then seen in the backstage interview area, set for an interview. The scene starts with a close-up of Riki's logo spread out onto a sheet of some kind. The camera then pans out to see the logo placed on a flag, held by Riki himself. Our hero holds the flag with the interviewer approaching him. The interviewer reminds Riki of the unique matchup he'll be involved in next week and explains the rules. One man must claim the flag from atop the stage and mount it on the platform that is held 15 feet above the ring. Riki is then asked what this match means to him with so much animosity between himself and Gary Federline. Riki's answer is the same as what the flag means to him. The match and this flag is about honor, respect, and justice. Something in which means nothing to Gary and KOTR. Riki was taken away from his passion, dream, his life for over 3 months. 3 months he'll never get back due to the selfish actions of a group of people who preference cowardly attacks compared to fighting with pride. In those 3 months, Riki could have become a champion, something in which Gary has never done. Well, apart from that embarrassing tag team title reign. At A Night in Hell, Riki is going to make sure that it stays that way. He will not allow someone so selfish like Gary to plant his flag and cement himself as the new challenger to the Coast to Coast title. If Riki's flag means anything, if this match means anything, he will not let that happen. The interviewer can see that, clearly, Riki has a lot of passion and pent-up frustration. Perhaps Riki should save all of that until next week. Riki sarcastically appreciates the coaching ability from the interviewer, but tells them not to worry. He does indeed have 3 months of frustration to let out, and tonight he's going to let out 1 day's worth of fury. Next week, Gary is going to get the whole 90 days. Riki leaves looking proudly at his flag and exits after his music hits the arena. Enter Riki Mathews. Entering with his flag, Riki walks down the ramp with high focus and determination as a night in hell approaches. As our hero walks up the ring steps, he sticks the flag in his tag corner. Enter Johnny Fabuloso and Terri Delighta. The commentators wonder what sort of approach Johnny will have in this match due to the, recent interactions with Steven Dreadful. In fact, they question exactly how the two will operate in this contest. Enter Killers of the Revolution. Gary Federline, Jade Williams, and CJ enter. Steven Dreadful is nowhere to be seen. As the villainous team enter with cockiness, perhaps Steven has been affected by Johnny's words? Riki may have entered with his own flag, but KOTR enter with theirs. They do the same as Riki Mathews, placing their flagpole in their tag team corner. Before the match begins, a night in hell is promoted. The women's title is on the line in a submission match featuring Jade Williams, the challenger, and Daria, the champion. How will Daria deal with the sleeper hold? With Daria in action later on tonight, the commentators hope to find out. Match 3, the Killers of the Revolution versus Riki Mathews, Johnny Fabuloso, and Terri Delighta. CJ stays away from the action the entire match until his team are dominant. Then he decides to participate. He kicks Terri Delighta around, happy to mock the stylist in the process. CJ prepares himself to kick Terri right in the ghoulies once again for extra revenge. However, the stylist holds the foot and trips CJ onto his back. Terri resumes his offense by striking Gary and Jade off the apron and gets a tag to Riki. A hero jumps in with CJ hoping to tag in his partners, only for his team to be in pain on the outside. CJ is left alone and grabbed by Riki, ready for the mat attack, only for Riki to get smacked in the ribs by a steel chair held by Steven Dreadful. Winners, Riki Mathews, Johnny Fabuloso, and Terri Delighta in a disappointing disqualification. Steven turns toward an outraged Johnny on the apron and subtly apologizes to him. Riki rolls out of the ring in pain, joining a hurt Terri and irritated Johnny. The Killers of the Revolution witness their opponents leave in anger, but they aren't done. CJ grabs the mic and claims, in pain, that the Killers of the Revolution are destined for greatness. Why? Because next week, Jade will become the women's champion, Gary will become the new #1 contender to the Coast to Coast title, and CJ and Steven kick the asses and balls of Johnny Fabuloso and Terri Delighta. With Steven confused, along with Terri and Johnny themselves, CJ announces a Texas Tornado match between the two teams. The Killers of the Revolution rage each other's hands, with Steven perplexed, along with the fabulous duo. Impetus heads in to another commercial break. Impetus returns with a replay from last week. Highlights of the Fatal 4-Way from last week is shown, in which determined the next challenger to the women's title. With Cortni planted through a table by her supposed best friend Angel, the pretty princess wasn't done as she dragged Cortni to the back and proceeded with a weaponized assault. After smacking Cortni's face in with a trash can lid, Angel demanded a match with Cortni at a night in hell. A hardcore match. We then cut to a backstage interview with Cortni in the interview area. She is asked how she feels facing her best friend turned bitter enemy, Angel, in a hardcore match next week at the pay-per-view. Cortni wants it to be known that she didn't really have much choice in this. Being pushed through a table, dragged up the ramp and hit in the face with a trash can lid doesn't exactly scream challenge accepted. But hey, it looks like it was always going to come down to this. She never wanted to fight Angel. She never wanted to cause such a rift between the two of them. But it looks as though the two drifted apart further and further, convincing themselves at the same time that they were tighter than ever before. She won't enjoy what she does to Angel next week. Okay, well, maybe she will a little bit. But she by no means wants to refer to Angel as her bitter enemy. She still, in a way, she still likes her. She still respects her, I guess. Cortni hopes to continue, but is confronted by Angel herself. The two stare each other down, with Angel mocking her former friend. Cortni thinks she's just so cool, doesn't she? So chilled and calm with her reactions. Oh, I never wanted it to end up like this. Oh, I still care for the friendship we once had. Bullshit! Cortni is the one who revealed her affairs. Cortni is the one who played games, pretending to be her secret admirer, and Cortni is the one that ruined their friendship by discussing it all on a public podcast that nobody listens to. All of that has pissed off Angel, sure, but the thing that pissed her off the most is Cortni's attitude toward their match. The only reason why Cortni is acting so mellow about their match next week is so she doesn't get proven wrong when Angel destroys her. Cortni scoffs and rolls her eyes at this stupid statement. Angel reacts though, asking why everybody believes that Cortni will win so easily. Because she calls herself the hardcore bitch? Angel reminds Cortni that as much experience as she's had in those horrible, insane no disqualification matches, Cortni hasn't won a single one of them. Next week, Angel's offense will be far more brutal and disgusting than last week. At A Night in Hell, Angel will become the true hardcore bitch. Cortni then gets close to her former friend and lets her know, calmly, that she's made a few good points. Cortni actually finds herself agreeing with most of the things that Angel said, which is way more than the past 3 years. But perhaps Cortni has suffered to gain no disqualification wins due to her friendship issues with Immunity and of course Angel being on her mind all the time. Perhaps Cortni has done nothing but think about who was right, who was wrong in the Immunity unity, and perhaps, just perhaps, Cortni needs to just beat the hell out of Angel in order to move on with her life. She may be calm, she may be mellow, but at A Night in Hell, Cortni will combine all the frustration that she's had with Angel over the past 3 years. The listening but never talking, the peer pressure, the forced double dates, the constant whining and complaining about Brad or Connor or Andy, the self-obsessed makeup sessions, and the early morning after pill purchases. Cortni will build all of that frustration up into one fist and punch Angel's pretty little head into oblivion. The two stare at one another with intensity as the scene dramatically ends. Ladies and gentlemen, at A Night in Hell, Angel and Cortni will do battle in a hardcore match. The former friends of a unity battle it out in Cortni's bread and butter. Also, speaking of Angel, she isn't going to be done. She's in double action because she's the special guest referee in the triple threat match of Immunity. Charlie Finch, Bobby Manuel, and Jerry Kane, the Immune members, show their weaknesses as they compete for Angel's love. The question is, who will Angel choose? Still to come though, a 6-way tag team match. Immunity take on the Condemnation. With both trios desperately in need of a sense of togetherness, how well can both of them perform? One team must win. Enter Daria. The confident champion may enter with a smile, but the commentators are wondering just how Daria plans on escaping and/or reversing the clutches of Jade Williams' sleeper hold submission. Enter Kelly Sales. The commentators explained that Kelly actually asked the champion for this match earlier tonight for a very personal reason. A replay from earlier tonight before the show began is seen. With Daria unpacking in her locker room, Kelly approaches her and explains that she asked for this match tonight. Not to trash on Daria, not to trash on the title, but to send a message to Akira. Akira has been shaming Kelly for the way she looks lately. You know, with her whole "I'm ugly, so I'm pretty" routine. With Akira, the next challenger to the women's title, Kelly wants her to know who she'll be dealing with when she wins. Daria respects Kelly's drive, but tells her that she forgets one thing, and that's the fact that Daria ain't losing the title. Not to Jade next week, not to Akira the next week, and definitely not to someone like Kelly. But hey, maybe she'll be proven wrong. Daria and Kelly shake each other's hands with tension. Match 4. Daria versus Kelly Sales. Daria uses her multiple opportunities to apply a variety of submissions on Kelly, hoping to send a message to Jade. However, Kelly's persistence allows her to reverse and counter the holds, frustrating the champion. With Kelly working on Daria's leg ever so slightly when she can, she decides to fight fire with fire and apply a half Boston Crab on Daria. The champion struggles not to tap, but eventually gets to the ropes. Realizing her submission strategy isn't exactly working, Daria goes back to basics and uses her strikes to build offense. Ready to hit the Harlem Hangover, Daria decides not to and instead locks in the Hyperlock, Riki Mathews Hyperlock. Paying a painful homage to her good friend, Daria wins and creates momentum heading into her submission match next week. Winner, Daria. We then see Greg Williams chilling in his locker room backstage. With his feet up high, sipping on a soft drink, why is he so relaxed? Why is Greg so relaxed with a chaotic creature seeking his title inside the dome next week? The commentators guess that we'll find out in the press conference later on. Because, still to come, the World Impetus Championship press conference will be seen as Greg Williams and Skar speak in front of the public. However, up next, it's a 6-way tag team match, the final one of the evening, Immunity and the Condemnation. Enter the Condemnation. Dylan's stresses have only become higher, as not only must he prove himself to his children, but must do it next week at A Night in Hell against Warren Jaxon for the Coast to Coast title in a 30-minute Iron Man match. Dylan revises his team's game plan in the ring, with Mark listening attentively and Jarvis, well, not so much. Enter Immunity. Bobby, Jerry and Charlie ignore one another as they walk in front of one another. The three seem to be more than happy not to discuss their game plan and their issues and would rather just get on with the match. Match 5. The 6-way tag team match between Immunity and the Condemnation. Both teams struggle to work well as the Immunity men hope to do all the work themselves, only to be forced out by an unwanted tag. The Condemnation don't have that problem, but instead they have Dylan Dark trying way too hard to control his children, demanding that they follow his leadership. As the pace builds between Finch and Jarvis, the Immunity leader refuses to tag out and hopes to stare at his partners right before hitting the full effect finisher. However, he takes too long. This allows Jarvis to strike back and do as his father says by tagging Dylan in. The Emperor charges in and strikes Finch down multiple times, only for his spear to be dodged, causing the official to take the move instead. With the official down, Immunity see no better chance to come in and look powerful, beating up the Condemnation with their own moves, once again seemingly to outdo one another. Bobby hits the Falcon Arrow on Mark, Jerry hits the Michinoku Driver on Jarvis, and Finch hits Dylan with a poetic drive-by kick. All three Immunity members cover their opponents at the same time. The official sees this and starts to count, only to realize, in pain, that only 2 legal opponents can be in the ring at the same time. Immunity are outraged and demand the ref to count the 3. With the official in pain, he demands that he know who the legal man is. Each Immunity man pleads that it's him, hoping that they get the deciding fall, again, hoping to look strong and powerful. Immunity then start to argue as to who should get the pin, only for the official to be pulled out of the ring and struck down by the appearing Angel. Angel then takes her top off to reveal a referee shirt underneath. She slides in the ring and demands her partners to pin their respective opponent. The Immunity males do as their dearly beloved demands. She counts the 3, awarding Immunity the victory. Winners, Immunity. Each male member of Immunity quickly approaches Angel in hopes to have their hand raised by her. She blushes from all the male attention and decides to simply raise Bobby's hand. With Bobby cocky and mocking his jealous partners, Angel then decides to raise Charlie's hand separately, and then Jerry's. Realizing that the Immunity boys are fawning over her, Angel flicks her hair as she exits the ring. Her team watches as she leaves in desperation. Angel looks back on the ramp and blows all 3 of them a kiss. Who will she choose next week, as she will be once again the referee in an Immunity contest? Up next, the World Impetus Championship traditional press conference takes place. Greg Williams and Skar will be answering the public's questions. That happens after our last commercial break of the evening. With Impetus returning from its last commercial break, a night in hell is advertised. The entire card is given to all of us. The triple threat match with a special guest referee of none other than Angel will take place. Charlie Finch, Bobby Manuel and Jerry Kane will compete for Angel's love. The question is, who will Angel choose? Also, an Iron Man match for the Coast to Coast title is going to take place. Warren Jaxon defends his title against Dylan Dark. Also, the women's title is on the line in a submissions match. Daria, the champion, takes on challenger Jade Williams. How will Daria deal with the sleeper hold? And the Impetus tag team titles are on the line in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Hernando Lystio represents El Fuego as he takes on, by himself, Matar Ilamas. Also, a Texas Tornado tag team match has been announced earlier tonight. Steven Dreadful and CJ take on Johnny Fabuloso and Terri Delighta. Will Steven and Johnny in this match get physical? And a hardcore match between Angel and Cortni. Will Angel make her immunity decisions before or after this hellacious contest? Also, a number 1 contendership capture the flag ladder match. Riki Mathews and Gary Federline compete in this first ever matchup. Will Riki get revenge, or will his injured ribs take a toll? And our main event, the Dome match. With the World Impetus title on the line, Greg Williams defends against Skar. Greg has made it very clear that he's not intimidated by Skar, but has it all been a poker face? We're going to find out right now in the traditional press conference. The traditional press conference takes place atop the stage with 2 tables on either side and a podium in the middle. Behind the podium stands Aaron Cutler, introducing all to the event. A Night in Hell will host a stipulation contest for every match, and the main event will hold the most deadly of them all. A match type that has torn flesh from all opponents, delayed careers, and has even ended livelihoods. Greg Williams will defend his title, and let's be honest, his life, inside the confines of the Dome. And it will be against none other than the chaotic creature. Without any further ado, Aaron wants to introduce the challenger, only enter Greg Williams. The champion rebels against the system once again as he enters first, totally ruining the tradition of the press conference. He sits on the table and looks toward the stage, awaiting the entrance of his challenger. Aaron tries to remain professional despite the lack of entrance schedules, and he moves on, introducing Skar to the scene. Enter Skar. the eerie entrance of Skar is seen. With Aaron intimidated, Skar stands behind his desk with seriousness, all with Greg swinging his legs like a child as they dangle off of his table. With both opponents in odd positions, Aaron wants to get to the questioning quickly, opening up the floor in anxiety. The first question is posed to Skar, however, the monster stands still with only his deep breaths being heard. Small questions are traded to both competitors until Greg is asked why he slapped the chaotic creature in the face last week. Greg answers, claiming that it seems like the ghosts of his past have been trying their best to haunt him over the last few months. Ever since winning the world title at episode 100, Jimmy Sparrow, Johnny Fabuloso, and Riki Mathews have all tried to gain their own form of justice based on their past experiences with him. When Skar grabbed Greg by the throat and hoisted him high in the air for the resurrection, Greg knew that Skar was going to be yet another past demon, literally. But Greg, he's gotten sick of it. He decided to turn that all around by calling back to the very beginning of their history, calling back to their previous story that they had so long ago, one in which all started with a slap. When Skar received that one fateful slap all that time ago, it changed Greg's life forever, as he became the curious character, wanting to know what made Skar tick, and, as a result, Greg became a clown of Impetus, the performing monkey in the circus. Greg got destroyed and humiliated by Skar, but that was so long ago. That was Greg Gordo. Now, 2 years later, here stands Greg Williams. And there is a difference. A huge difference that Skar has witnessed firsthand. Greg believes Skar is being silent because he knows. He knows why he isn't a threat next week, but why Greg is. Skar can do all the smoke and mirrors all he likes, the darkness, the red lighting, but it won't scare him. Because for exactly 120 days, there has been nothing petrifying to Greg about Skar. For 120 days, since episode 103, Greg has not feared the monster. Why? Because as dominant as Skar has been, as destructive and chaotic as Skar's life may be, as deadly as he is and his family are to the entire Impetus roster, he may be a 350-pound soul-ripping machine, but Greg does not fear for his title. Because 120 days ago, Greg proved that the unbeatable Skar is beatable. Greg defeated Skar in one-on-one action. So why would Greg be worried? Why would Greg be intimidated after destroying the indestructible? This isn't the same Greg that stood before Skar 2 years ago, and Skar knows it. This isn't the same Greg that was used as Impetus' performing monkey, the same one who doesn't know how to use a damn fire extinguisher. Here before Skar stands Greg Williams, World Impetus Champion, 2-time World Impetus Champion. You can take the Rebel's dome virginity all you want. You can choke him by the throat, lift him in the air, and slam him to the mat. You can use the family tree to get the advantage, but Greg will walk into the dome the same way he exits it, with the World Impetus title around his waist. Why? Because he is not scared. With Skar irritated, yet still silent, Greg gives the cameras what they want and gets in the face of the chaotic creature. Aaron moves the hell out of the way as Skar and Greg stand face to face. With Skar silent, it creates frustration in Greg, leading to the Rebel placing the title in Skar's face, on Skar's face. However, there is no physicality. The show ends with both men face to face, ready for the dome.